Welcome to whatever this is. This is the Scary Story video where I will be telling you a vile, heart-throbbing, a disturbing, end of your seat sitting position inducing story, a tale that will traumatize you to the very fabric of your soul, where every bone in your body will melt as though you were a resident of the sun, where you will become a pile of bones by the end. And by the end of the story, once I am done telling it, your toes will feel so cold and you will shiver so much you will feel like you are living on a base in Antarctica. You will be so shivery. So without further ado, let's do it. So this story happened in April/May-ish of this year, so fairly recently. And this was the second time that something like this has had happened in my life so far. I hope that nothing like this ever happens again, but in case it does, I just hope there's no branding in the background. Get that out of here. Okay, so basically what happened, I was in this cemetery it was not late in the day. It was around, I want to say 2 p.m., 3 p.m.-ish. So, mid-afternoon. So I'm in the cemetery and I'm reading this book I just got from the library that was actually really cool. And yes, I like to read. And yes, I like to read in quiet cemeteries. Only when they're quiet, okay? Not when there's a lot of people going around. I'm not going out in the cemetery doing weird stuff. All right, don't get those ideas in your head. I'm not trying to summon zombies. But the person that I'm about to tell you may have been trying to do that herself. I'll get to that in a second. All I'm going to say is I was in the cemetery reading this book. I remember it was about a giant living her life in this fantasy land. It was really cool. It was a really nice graphic novel. It was huge, by the way. It just struggled to carry it around everywhere. It was like this big. And I was like, well, now my dog's going crazy in the living room, probably because somebody's, trying to break into the house. Somebody actually saw a bear near the house. Let me make sure my dog. Anyway, it was not a bear. It's just somebody who lives here. Anyway, yes, a neighbor told me and actually sent a video to us that a bear was near our house, that it was just walking around. This was at 9 in the morning and 9-ish. And I've not seen that bear since, but I went walking near the road where it was seen, not purposely, on accident, and then I remembered, oh, hey, there was a black bear spotted near this area. I'm just glad that it did not show up that time. I probably would have done something stupid like tried to make it my pet. But as everyone knows, you don't try to tame any black bears or try to make them your pet, especially if it's a wild black bear. All right, if it's already been domesticated, that's a good idea. Go to the zoo and try to tame it, make it your pet. I don't think that's legal, but you can try. So, anyway, back to the story. If my dogs don't bark, they probably will. I was reading the book, and it was really sunny. It was really hot. The weather was really good. It was really beautiful. It was kind of windy, but also warm enough. It was like that sweet spot you get where it's warm and hot, but there's enough wind in the air to where you feel that slight breeze that just gets you going. It makes you feel enthused and energized. And I'm sitting on this bench in the middle of this cemetery, reading my book, having a good time, just not really doing anything. And then from my right, this person comes up to me. And so I hear them before I see them because I'm so enthralled in the story of my book that I just get detached from the world whenever I find a good book to read. It's always good. It's therapeutic. And the person says, what book is that? All right. Cool question. Stranger comes up to somebody, very sociable, very friendly. That's a good sign, not rude, not mean or anything. And I look to my right, and it's a lady. It doesn't look too old. She looks she looks like a young adult. She is dressed in, I remember, overalls. And not overalls. Wait, was it overalls? I don't even remember. No, she had jean pants on. I'm thinking of overalls because I don't know why I'm thinking about jean overalls right now. But she had jeans on and she had some kind of shirt. I don't remember. but she was carrying a Trader Joe's bag. I do remember that. And she was wearing glasses with medium length black hair. So she comes up, she says, "What book is that?" I tell her what book I'm reading, and from there we have a conversation. Now, in this conversation, there are several things that happen at once that really make me kind of question the situation. I'm not at red alert yet, but pretty soon you'll see I found myself in a very precarious situation. And in this situation, this was the second time something like this happened that really convinced me there are human beings in this world that you just gotta watch out for. You just gotta keep your head on a swivel. As my pops always tell me, you gotta really look around yourself and just be like, man, there's some crazy people in this world. But this person then sat down in the grass, set down their Trader Joe's bag, just on the grass, just chilling, laid their butt right down on the grass. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Sometimes I do that when I'm trying to meditate, when I'm trying to just, get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. I like to go find a nice field and just sit down. But I don't know, in a cemetery, that seems kind of disrespectful. It was a fake cemetery, though. It was a dog cemetery, which I'm 99% sure wasn't real. But it is also very disgusting and very unsanitary. People have to come by and clean up the grass, probably, because they know everybody just wants to sit down in some graves and be disrespectful. As the person sat down, though, we had the conversation, and basically she told me a variety of things. Number one, she's living with her mom, and her mom hates her. Number two, she got out of this really toxic relationship recently that sucked and was awful. I don't want to say the details of like every little thing, the really intricate details for obvious reasons, but yeah, she told me a lot of things that really, was like a lot of exposition. So much exposition that I had the feeling I was becoming this person's inadvertent therapist, sitting there and just listening to everything. And I was just nodding my head, just going along, yeah. Because to be honest, I was listening and I was paying attention. But again, I was in the middle of my book, and I'm the type of person to where if you come up to me while I'm doing something and you strike a conversation, I will talk to you. But my autistic brain will think to itself, I haven't been diagnosed with autism yet, but have a lot of similarities with people who are on the spectrum. So that's why I'm saying that. But my brain will just be locked on and focused on the activity that I'm doing, the task at hand, while you're trying to strike up that conversation. It's not bad to me that you would want to talk to me while I'm doing something. It's just something that I feel like a compulsion to keep thinking about what I was doing. But this person keeps talking, and I'm just nodding my head, going like, all right. And a lot of things they're saying really rub me as kind of like, this is a really angry person. Somebody who's angry at life, who is angry at the world, and has a lot of reason to be. But I'm still not sure yet whether I should treat the situation as a red alert, I have the red flags raised situation yet. Now, that is until we reach this promontory. I actually do not know if I'm using that word correctly. I just learned it. English is a very difficult language to learn. But yeah, we reach this point where this person says, "Oh yeah, I do witchcraft." Just cool. And then she pulls out of her Trader Joe's bag this bottle of dish detergent or dish cleaner. I don't know. It's some type of dish liquid. And she pulls it out of her bag and she starts rubbing it on her hand. She starts, like she's washing her hands with soap, but it's with dish cleaner. And then she starts putting it up to her nose and going. Now, if this person is watching this and you already know who you are, you recognize me from the cemetery, that guy who was reading that giant book about that giant lady. I just want to say here, I should have said this at the beginning. Mid-story disclaimer, I do not hate you for this interaction. I hold nothing against you for this. I know you all, everybody else, will find out in a second what happened at the end of this conversation, but I just want you to know that as I'm telling the story, I'm simply telling this as just this was my life experience, kind of like a vlog. I'm telling this as kind of like I don't know. I honestly don't know why I'm telling this. This just came to my mind, and I just wanted to share this with the internet. But I hope that everything is okay. All right. I hope that it is. I'll get back to that in a second, but as she put the dish detergent to her nose and smelled it and, got like a 1 second high off of it, I was like, okay, maybe I'm in a weird situation. Maybe I'm in a situation that I probably should not be in, and maybe I should just put the book in my backpack and walk away from this cemetery because I actually have no idea what's about to happen. You know, is she about to turn into like a werewolf or something? And if she says she does witchcraft, I I mean, what am I supposed to do? I have no idea. Uh, but it is from this moment on that I'm starting to question things. And she then goes forward and says, okay, all this stuff happened. More exposition, more life stories from her life. She goes off to use the bathroom, I remember, and then she comes back. And I also had a stress toy with me. At one point in the conversation, she saw me using a stress toy and she grabbed it and she started playing with it. She started throwing it around at the gravestones. And in my mind, I wanted to say, can you please not do that? But I don't know. There are times in life where I'm also an extreme pushover, and it's bad. It can get bad. I've gotten better though at being assertive, but yeah, there are times in life where, sometimes you just get too uncomfortable. Sometimes you get way too uncomfortable. But I'm going to skip to the part where things got really, got up. We get to a point where she's like, "Oh, there's some cool stuff around the cemetery. I come here all the time." Okay. Interesting. I come here all the time as well. Not all the time. I'm not hanging out in cemeteries, but I come here often enough when I need a break from the city. This is when I was living in a huge metropolitan area. So we get off of this bench and she's like, "I want to show you something, not something. I want to show you a few things around the cemetery." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we walk around and at this point she has told me a lot about her past relationships and a lot of things that I feel like typically you would not want to share with a random stranger. But, if they were traumatic enough, I get it. At the same time, though, I am a random stranger. And I was feeling uncomfortable with all the details that she was sharing. Oh, it's so dark in here. I feel like, why did I do this to myself? I think a ghost might come in here, especially as I'm telling this story. Maybe she's listening in on this. I don't know. But, we walk around the cemetery, we walk around some benches that we find later. She tells me at one point, "I think you should shave the sides of your beard." If you all notice, I have I have a uncannily unkempt beard going on. Kind of like a lumberjack beard going on. And personally, I'm proud of it. I wear this look and I feel like I rock it really well. If you want to find my OnlyFans, I started an OnlyFans. I put it in the description below. So you can go find that now and you want to see pictures of me rocking the beard really well in some model-like poses. But, but, uh, yeah, I feel like I rock it well. So I was like, "Oh, I don't care." And she was like, she just kind of smiled and kind of laughed. But I found it kind of weird. You know, um, don't tell a random stranger that you spent having like a 1 to 2 hour conversation. By the way, our conversation was 1 to 2 hours long. I just want to point that out. We had a 1 to 2 hour conversation with a random stranger in a cemetery about past relationships, horrible relationship with mom, and a whole basically just thoughts on people that she hated. And that was basically the whole conversation. It was however many people she hated. She also told me she was writing a book, which was pretty cool. But anyway, I'm getting way past it. We sit on these benches and we get up and then we walk around again. And then I get to this statue. At this point, she tells me, "I am going to go to this bakery. My phone's almost dead, so I'm going to go to this bakery, get some stuff, and, just chill." I'm like, "All right, good for you. I'm glad you have plans." So we get to this statue, and this is at the point where she's like, "Okay, you want my number or not?" Now, I love how I'm like taking this stance, like, "No, let me just say." No, 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 no. I want to say, as again, another mid-story disclaimer, at this point, I haven't. Is it weird that I haven't been asked a lot in my life if I want somebody's phone number? All right, I just have to lead with that. I feel like this is gonna make it the rest sound bad, but no, just listen. Given that, I was always the kid in school who got bullied and everybody walked up to, everybody kind of made fun of, like, "Ew, who's that kid wearing the Spider-Man shirt, wearing the Mario shirt in school? Ew." I was the nerd. One of many nerds that got picked on. I'm talking physical picked on. Physical and social. I definitely got picked on a lot. But so given that, you can imagine that there haven't been many times where somebody has come up to me and asked me if I wanted their phone number. I have not had experience in that department, even like on a friendly level. I'm not talking about romantic, but all around. So when I'm encountered with the situation, I'm standing there and I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I mean, this is a random stranger. They told me about past relationships that I can't remember. I think they were abusive. Past relationships that were bad relationship with mom, and then all this other stuff that was really like therapy level, information. What should I do? And I'm faced with this dilemma where I have these options on what to do, and it's like a split second decision. And that's why all of that I'm using as hopeful justification, but also maybe you'll understand it more. After she asked the question, "Do you want my phone number?" the first thing that comes out of my mouth is no. Just no. That's all I had to say. And I'm laughing about it because not because I'm happy that this person got their feelings hurt, maybe. I don't know. But that and I'm going to get into that, but also I'm just laughing because I know my brain is weird. My brain is really weird. It's really strange. It works in the most bizarre ways. It's probably wrong for me to be laughing at the situation, but I think that I just think that my brain is so weird that when I find myself in these situations and I'm not sure how to react, it's just a really interesting thing where I'm like, I'm such a socially awkward person in a lot of scenarios. In a lot of scenarios, I've gotten better, but yeah, in a lot, I don't know. And this was a really weird situation, admittedly. So I say that, and then she gets instantly angry. So angry. Her face goes from kind of smiling, kind of upbeat to, and then just like that, she turns around, she walks away, and then she flips me off and says over her shoulder as she's walking away, I didn't like, wait, what did she say specifically? Okay, rack your brain, past Kwame. What did she say? Okay, let's remember, Kwame. Let's remember. She said, waste of my time, waste of my effing time. And then on top of that, she says, I don't want a person like you in my life anyway. And she says something along those lines. And I was like, no, I didn't mean. I started to say, no, I didn't mean. And then I stopped myself and she just kept walking away. She was so angry. And so after that, I was left standing in front of this random tombstone in the cemetery for about like 20 minutes. 20 minutes of standing in front of this tombstone. I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? And for the rest of the day, I was walking around like, was I in the wrong? Was she in the wrong? Who was in the wrong? So I called my mom and we had a legitimate 40-minute conversation about what I could have done differently, what was that situation. And so after having that convo and, really taking the time to think about it, I feel like, yes, I did, respond to the situation in a way that maybe wasn't entirely appropriate. But, and this is where I was hinting at before, anytime I feel like if you are in a cemetery for whatever reason, you could be working there or you could just be hanging out like a weirdo like me, uh, and somebody comes up to you and they're telling you about all their past trauma and just trauma dumping in front of you all the time, like they have diarrhea and they have to, just dump in front of you. That may be a sketchy situation, okay? And they say they come to the cemetery all the time, they practice witchcraft. Got it. Uh, yeah, that's a sketchy situation. That is very weird, very bizarre. And I feel like I responded in a way to where it was fight or flight. Looking back, that's what it was. If I had to describe it, again, I'm not justifying anything. I'm not justifying me just being like, no. If somebody asks you like a simple question, you probably shouldn't just say, no. You should probably follow it up with, oh, no, no, I'm sorry. What I wanted to say, what I meant to say, again, person, if you're watching, this is what I meant to say. No, thank you. I am very uncomfortable with giving my phone number out to people I just met for the first time, even if it is an extended interaction. If I have no prior build up to that interaction to where I know maybe this could end in me giving a phone number, like if we meet online and then we're like, we're gonna meet in person. All right, I have a phone number. Sure. I'm still really reluctant on that. Again, just a weird person with my own weird brain. But that's just giving some context, all right? So if you're watching this, I did not mean to offend you. Please do not spam litter my comments with awful, awful messages about how I should DIE. YouTube is very sensitive about that type of language and imagery, or about how I should do this and do that, and you want me to go to this place that starts with the letter H. Again, I don't know what YouTube is censoring. I haven't done my studies on the YouTube censorship program, but yeah, I'm sorry. I hope you have a good day. Continue practicing your witchcraft. I think I avoided a sketchy situation, and I hope that you're not in prison for murdering somebody, okay? If that's not respectful, I don't know what is. You have a good day. All of you all who are watching this episode, I hope you have a good day, and stay tuned for more. Here's a sneak peek at my next video that will be coming out. Bye. Get out of my house.